Retro Podcasts with your host, Retro Lion. We talk music, entertainment, films, and more. And now, here he is, live, Retro Lion. Welcome back to Retro Podcast. I am the host, Ben Cena, and today we have Mark Kohl with us. It's great to see you, Mark. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And so, how is everything on your end?
Well, we have lots of things going on our end always. So, things are good. I mean, we're here in Southern California. Weather's awesome. It's a little hot, but all good. We're lucky that we live outside of the city and the somewhat in the country, but still close to the mayhem and accessibility of Los Angeles. So, yeah, it's good.
Nice. And tell me a little bit about your company. What is it exactly that you do?
You mean a frequency or the mushroom company that we do? I mean, basically, we grow mushroom medicine for healing. So we have all types of different products. We have a very unique way of growing. We honor the medicine as it is in nature. We don't, synthesize or extract or do anything like that. We're 100% holistic, and that's a big deal. And the company, started through my personal struggles with mental illness. I won't even call it that, but yeah, I guess it is a type of mental illness. But I suffered from alcoholism very severely for a long time, and psychedelic therapy helped me. And it was very unknown back then, and so we started growing mushrooms, psychoactive mushrooms for mental therapy, because it helped me so much. So I started doing that business 6.5 years ago. We're all branded up for a couple of years now, and we're getting quite popular. And I get on podcasts like this and kind of talk about all of it because it's very relevant right now. When we started, it was very underground. The last thing people were talking about was mushroom therapy or anything like that. So I guess we kind of had an inkling of what was coming with the mental struggles that we all have on planet Earth right now. People are looking for natural options, and that's what we're doing.
And I'm very curious to hear about this mushroom medicine because me personally, I do suffer with a little bit of a mental, not a whole lot, I wouldn't call it mental health, but I do suffer with once in a while depression. So how does this mushroom medicine work?
Well, if you're suffering from depression, welcome to the human race. You wouldn't be normal. These things normal. I mean, I can go down lots of rabbit holes, but basically our system of our society is pretty much designed for failure. It's designed for us to be frustrated. We don't know it until we get to middle-aged or whatever, and then we realize, wait, this is all a hoax. This is like, in a capitalistic society, you can't be happy people, really, because happy people, quite honestly, don't really buy anything. So they're always keeping, some sort of mayhem, some sort of fear, some sort of something illusionary to make us hate each other or to judge each other or to strive for these illusionary platforms of success. Most of the people we work with are very wealthy and they're the most miserable, right? So we have this whole programming from childhood of, things will be better tomorrow. Things will be better, just wait, just hang in there. And we never live in the moment, right? We never truly enjoy our lives because we're always waiting for a better day to come. And in fact, it's pretty much common knowledge that tomorrow never comes, right? So we're on this illusionary chase, and this is all illusion. It's all, there's obviously ancient texts and so many, spiritual modalities all talk about living in the moment. I mean, the power of now, books, this is nothing new, but we're always hoping that it's going to get better when things, usually are pretty okay. And, but the system is set up to, I speak from full authenticity because I lived all of this. I had a very successful film company for 30 years. I was a very powerful entrepreneur my whole life since I was 20. And, I was depressed, I was stressed. And back then, alcohol was the thing and it worked very well. And everybody went to the bar and we had happy hour. And, on the movie sets or the commercial sets, at the end of the shoot, we'd wrap and there was always a bar ready for us to relax, right? And it works well until it doesn't. And, now we know alcohol is the worst thing possible for you. It's absolutely the most detrimental on the body, on the mind, on your overall well-being, your connection to spirit. This is why, so many cultures don't drink, Islam, Buddhist, Hindu, none of them drink alcohol by design because they know, it's called spirits for a reason. It severs the tie of the pineal gland from, a higher being or consciousness, if you want to call it that, right? So if you want to get into like how does psychedelic or mushroom medicine operate for depression, there's many factors to it. So I know we have limited time, but in the psychedelic world, there's like I categorize them, and some people categorize it a little differently, but we've been at it for quite some time, and so we have three main categories of dosing, right? We have what we call the microdose, which is an imperceptible amount. We have what we call the macrodose, which is a bunch of mushrooms, like 5 to 10 grams or whatever, and that's designed to with enough psilocybin and other psychoactive components to just launch you into the ethers and have what we call ego death. Which when we have ego death, we lose the sense of self, we lose our sense of our false identity, and we connect with all living beings, and we start to see how nature, the universe really operates. And also in those realms, it allows us, without the sense of self, there's no judgment, there's no anything like that. It's just kind of pure consciousness, which can be very, very beautiful. It can also be quite a struggle. But when you're in these realms, we obviously recommend you're with some sort of experienced facilitator or guide. But through that, you can, you go in with intention, and you can also extract a lot of these traumas that have happened to us that kind of control us. Childhood traumas will control you to the rest of your life unless you get rid of them, right? Because they affect our every move, every relationship, every job. All of our potentials are limited by our limiting beliefs. And a lot of them were told, programmed in our little head as a child. So if we were abused or ignored, it's probably one of the worst ones that people do to their children. Of course, abuse is, horrific, but these things can be removed so that you can move forward, right? So, I don't know the audience of your podcast, but so this is part of what we're doing is educating people. I skipped one of the other doses, and then between the macrodose and the microdose is what we call the social dose, and that's a light amount that you do feel, and you just feel light and happy, and usually that's the area where you get the laughs. We call them the mushroom laughs. Everybody's laughing at everything, and it's also very social. So when you go on a deep dive journey, that's not very social because you go really deep inward. But in the social category, dancing and yoga, I go hiking. I drink tea, like I'm drinking tea right now. It's a very, very light dose. It keeps the mind at bay. It kind of keeps the rats from eating the wires in your head, of these stresses that we have, right? So the way microdosing we'll talk about that for a second. It's quickly, at least in our world, starting to replace antidepressants, right? So here's how it works: is around 2011, the term microdosing was coined when they discovered that when you use a small amount, and by definition, microdose means, means 1/10 of a normal dose. So it could be anything. You can microdose, yogurt, I guess, or whatever. But so it's a very small amount. But the way it operates in the psilocybin world is, I'll use the mind as, or I'll use a computer desktop as a metaphor. We create our own misery is a Buddhist headline, right?
Mhm.
So, and this is also scientific. So we create almost all of our anxieties, and statistically, it's proven. There's lots of data on this. 80 to 97% of your worries and anxieties will never happen, right? But we think they're going to happen, and we've created them, and we live in them, right? So by definition, depression is something that has already happened, and we are affected by that in the past tense, right?
Mhm.
Anxiety is the prediction of the imaginary future of worst case scenarios, right? So that neither one has happened, right? I mean, the past has happened, but we're not in the past, nor are we in the future. We're in the moment, right? So what microdosing does is, well, make the analogy that all these worries are like windows open on the desktop of your computer. You have hundreds of these windows running. They're all taking up space. They're all taking up battery power. They're confusing you. And you're trying to solve all these problems, and you're just, I like to make the analogy, you're like looking at life through a straw, from one problem to another thing, and none of it's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
So this is the crazy part. Like, if 97% of them are never going to happen, and just chill until the 3% happen, then deal with it, right? So so the problem is, when you have all these windows open on your desktop, if you will, obviously you can't think, you can't connect, you can't pay attention, you're distracted. Then they start calling you ADD and all these other things, and then yeah, ADHD, ADD. I mean, there's all kinds of them. And they, but then after you keep doing this for a while, now it goes into the subconscious mind as a habit, right? So, because, we used to live in this fight or flight stress mode when we were in harm's way. Like, if there was some sort of predator or an adversary, coming at us, we would kick into fight or flight. So, but when you have all these imaginary windows of worry and anxiety open on your desktop of your mind, your body is releasing the same chemicals as it would if there was an adversary or a predator there, right? So it's releasing adrenaline for fighting. It's releasing cortisol, and we know all these chemicals are poisonous to the body if they're there for any length of time. They're needed for small bursts of energy to fight or whatever, get out of there, right? But we in modern times, we live in these states for decades. So the body really starts to suffer with that, because the blood pressure obviously goes up. I mean, a heart attack is created by stress, right? Most of the time. And stress is what? Stress is an emotion, right?
Mhm.
So we are slowly killing ourselves and making ourselves very, very sick with these thought patterns, right? And like I said earlier, we do it over and over again. So now it's not even a conscious habit anymore, it's a subconscious habit. And it's like, you just become a worried person. So I remember many times I'd have, plenty of money in the bank, I'd be on vacation, and I would just wake up in panic for no reason. And I couldn't figure out why, and I realize now that's because I was wired that way. And most of us are, right? Buddhism has, also has a saying, just the highlights of one of them. It's like, watch your thoughts, thoughts become habits, habits become your destiny, because your habits determine your life. Your daily habit is what determines your future life. And if you spend your time worrying, that's a path to disease. That's a path to no connection. That's a path to addiction for sure, because we want to calm these hundreds of windows on our desktop of our mind down and escape from them somehow, even though we created them and they're not going to happen, right? So when we microdose, what the microdosing does, there's no journey, there's no visual, right? But what it does is it starts shutting these windows down, right? So I tell people it works on a subtractive process rather than an additive process. If I said to you, Ben, how would you feel if you could remove all of your worries and take away all of your anxieties? You would just relax, right? I use the analogy, I'm a cinematographer, I use the analogy of a camera. It's like you're super zoomed in on this problem, but when you start to microdose, you just kind of zoom back and then you take in the peripheral. And this is where life is. This is where joy is. And this is where the present moment is, right? And everything's okay. And then the body starts to react accordingly, starts to calm down, right? And when we do these things long enough, we start to regenerate and rewire the neural pathways of the brain. So what we sell a couple different types of microdosing, but one we package them also with a lion's mane concentrate extract. And the reason we do that is because you're shutting these windows down, but they're so habitual, they'll just pop right back up the next day, right? So you want to start rewiring these things. So the lion's mane is our concentrate helps tremendously with the rewiring process, right? So and that's just microdosing, right? And then when you really want to get into it, the macrodosing is where it's really at. Microdosing is sort of a maintenance thing, but it's a very good replacement for antidepressants, especially because SSRIs and benzodiazepines, they alter our thought processes. They don't remove the stress, they actually just dull it. Well, when they're dulling it, they're also dulling everything else. They're just numbing us. SSRIs, and I was on them. They're very, in my opinion, very dangerous because they start to rewire and mess with the serotonin receptors. And when you start to mess with serotonin, ask anybody that's on SSRIs, you have so many side effects. Because serotonin is not just the happy molecule. It regulates our digestion. It regulates our sexual function. It regulates lots of things. And when they mess with that, that's why you have all those side effects and you become numb, right? So we're not looking for numb. We're looking for joy, right? So, joy, this is kind of one definition of it that I have, is joy is the absence of fear. Right? Joy is the absence of anxiety because we're born naturally happy. We're programmed to be racist. We're programmed to hate other people. We don't come into this world hating, right? That's all taught. So these things, these systems of education, these systems of banking, the systems of how we go to work, and we spend our whole life working to then with something we hate, and then we go home to use the money from our work that we hate to spend to give us joy, right? That's how it's designed, to give us pleasure. Well, you can't buy pleasure. You can't buy it. Then we're frustrated because now we're working, busting our ass all the time, not going anywhere, and then we're resentful, right? And then we realize we have no purpose. And, we're 45 years old and we're like, wait, now I'm the president of the company. Where's the golden egg? Where's the magic sauce? Where's all of it? And really what you've arrived at, because you think you've arrived at a hell of a lot more problems, because now you're in this giant thing that you worked your whole life to achieve. And any big achievement comes with a whole bunch of responsibility. So now you're even more miserable, right? But this is what we think, right? So psychedelics,
Makes a lot of sense.
Totally, right? So how could you not be frustrated, right? So now you're frustrated, and they go, "Oh, wait, there's a bar right here, right? Let's watch the Super Bowl, sponsored you by Budweiser." How crazy is that, right? Distraction. They want us to be distracted. They want us to be numb. They don't want us to realize that how powerful we are and how independent we can be, and how happy we can be. They want to create a society of mayhem and chaos and confusion to keep us buying things, because a capitalistic government or society or an economy, a capitalistic economy, cannot survive unless you're buying shit you don't need with money you don't have constantly. And I mean constantly. That's how
Addiction.
capitalism works. It is a total addiction, right?
Mhm.
And you're buying stuff you don't need to make you happy. For what? My garage is, I've thrown away so much stuff, like, right?
Mhm.
So you don't own things own you. And then, it's a cycle. And this is why these patterns of thought are repeat, and they loop and they loop. And this is why we date the same person over and over again. They just have different phone numbers, right? Because we haven't changed. Our story hasn't changed. Our subconscious base identity of who we are hasn't changed. And, when people ask me how did I change, I realized that I changed unknowingly. I eventually had changed the core story of who I am, not who I think I am, right?
That makes sense.
So we're in the business of clarity. We're in the business of giving people awareness. We're in the business of, we're not healing you. We help you heal yourself. Because once you have a clear mind, you can start to see what's really happening. And then you start to see why you're here. Your meaning in life. What is your meaning in life? Purpose. Like, if we do not know why we're here or have no purpose in life, we will always reach outside of ourselves for any type of relief, any type of happiness, any type of joy. So we will drink, we will use drugs, sex, buying things constantly. And it's just one big chase. You're running away from yourself, and you can't do it because you can't get away from yourself. So that's what psychedelic therapy does, and it helps tremendously with it. And it saved my life 10 years ago. And my purpose now is to, and we're doing it, is we are making growing the cleanest medicine there is. We have it. We've been to many conferences. We're the only people doing it like we're doing it, with total intention. Everybody here works with the medicine. They've all struggled with some sort of addiction or tragedy, and the medicine helps us navigate through that. And so we all are, we all can speak authentically from our hearts that this is what helps us, and our job is to spread that. And that's really where we're at, and we're very experienced at it because this is what we've been doing, for a very long time. And we do ceremonies with our teams, and we provide them for other people, but we also support other healers. We have a whole facilitator support page, website, to support the people that are trying to help other people, right? So, sorry for the long rant there, but it's, I was just trying to describe what we do, because it is a big picture thing that's happening in this age. And there's also a lot of things going on with how the government is navigating some of this, and we're trying to be involved in that somewhat, so that they don't do what they did with marijuana. Marijuana in nature is a very healing plant. They don't do what they did with tobacco. Tobacco is one of the most healing plants there is out there, but we made it into cigarettes, which kills us. That's not what marijuana doesn't even, you go to a dispensary now, it doesn't even look like the same plant. It's not. It's grown with so much intention of just getting you high, and THC content and synthesization and genetically modified, and on, and fertilized, and on and on and on. It's just to get you as high as possible, as fast as possible. Well, that's not what marijuana was designed for. That's not what tobacco was designed for, So, and when we don't want to see mushrooms go down that same path, right?
I don't want to say
So that's part of our job. Yeah. Yep.
And we have about 5 minutes left of the interview.
Oh, wow.
And
Sorry.
no, it was great therapy talk. It was perfect. For the mushroom medicine, is it something you sniff? Is it something you drink? Is it something you inhale? Or like how
No,
do
no, no. It's our stuff is just. I mean, we have different. We have candies. We have chocolates. I mean, you can go to our website. It's pretty simple. It's frequencycaps.com. But we also have, we have a YouTube channel of information. We have a social media, but there's different ways of ingesting it. The microdose comes in ground up mushroom biomass, which you ingest with just the capsule, just a vegan capsule, like any other supplement. Um, when you get into the bigger stuff, we have tea, we have social tea, and then we have ceremony tea, which is larger quantities. But yeah, so we can, that's one of our jobs, is to make it easy for dosing, make it easy for packaging. We have protocols so how to use everything, many videos there. We have many leaflets, pamphlets, or whatever online, showing you different protocols. We help people get off of antidepressants, which is a big one. You can't just stop taking SSRIs. You'll have all kinds of trouble with that. 'Cause I know I did it. I tried it. So we have protocols to wean you off of antidepressants. So we have a lot of information if you go to our websites and our social media channels and our YouTube. We're continually updating that stuff.
Nice. Mark, thank you again for joining today's episode, and wish you the best of luck with these medicines. And it will definitely help everyone that is dealing with, whether it's mental health or just any stressful time, especially in this stressful season, because we are in the election season, and that could be stressful for a lot of folks. And this product is definitely going to help.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and follow us on Instagram. See you next week.